In Chinese, that means the teacher closes the door. But in English, the door closes. What does that mean? It means the door closes, right? Right? So, in Chinese, you have this need to have a person doing the action. That's part of where this comes from. In Chinese, the subject has to be a person or an animal. Okay? That's how Chinese grammar works. There's a name for it. It's called animacy. Basically, you know animation? Like, you know, cartoons, you know, that are animated, right? Animation, well, it's this idea. They move. So something that can move on its own, a person or an animal, can be the subject. It can do stuff. A thing cannot be the subject in Chinese. So when we do this, the door closes. In English, the door is the subject. In Chinese, the door is the object. Okay? So when you come from Chinese to English, that causes a lot of trouble with your sentences. The idea that the subject has to be a person. And then we end up with problems with boring and bored and things like that. But we still have one little issue here. If this in Chinese is something different, then we need a name for it. So we call it a topic. In Chinese, you don't have a sentence with subject, verb, object. You have a sentence with a topic. And then, maybe there's a verb. Maybe another word will become a verb. You have a topic, then maybe you have a subject, or maybe you don't. Maybe you have another object, maybe you don't. But the focus in a Chinese sentence is that you have a topic. There's an idea that you're talking about. And that usually comes first in the sentence. Okay? But again, that's where it's different from English. In English, we can't do that. There are other languages that can. In French, we can get away with having a topic and a subject. My brother, he lives in Canada. In French, we can do that. You're allowed to. In English, my brother, he is bad grammar because you have two subjects. It doesn't work in English. Okay? So again, grammar is the first focus when we try to understand things in an English sentence. So that's one of the big, big problems. But if you understand why it happens, then it's easier to start fixing it. Okay? You're all good up to here? All right, there's one more little bit I'd like to go through with you, similar to this idea. And then I'd like to see if you have some other questions. Because, I mean, I could do this like all day, but I understand there's a limit to how much you guys can take at one time. All right, so nouns, countable and uncountable. You understand the meanings behind this, right? And you understand how important it is. The thing is with a noun, if water is uncountable and you then put an there, we try to force it to have a meaning. So almost any uncountable noun, we can count it and we can give it a meaning, but the meaning changes, like a bottle of water. How about love? Is love countable? No, right? Love is love. It's uncountable. So if we say love, what does that mean? We have to give it a meaning. If we use it, we have to make a meaning for it. So love becomes a thing that I love. Maybe a person that I love. All right? So I could say grammar is a love of mine. It's one of the things that I love. Okay? So that's what happens then with nouns. And with countable nouns, making them uncountable, that's not as easy, but we still have to try. If you say, I read book, okay, how can we make that work? It's a little bit hard. I'll give you an example. My mother loves dogs, and my mother we found a sign for her, a little sign to put on the wall. And my parents live in Taiwan, so the sign is something like this: I love Taiwan dog. So what does that actually mean? But it doesn't mean that, because dog is countable or uncountable? Countable. It's an animal. You can count them. 1, 2, 3, right? So if we say, I love dog, what does that mean? We don't really have a meaning here, so we have to create one. What about, I love chickens? Chickens. What does that mean? All right? I love chickens means I love the animals, right? A chicken has wings and a beak, it flies. Well, okay, they don't really fly much, but I have a neighbor. He has a tree, and his chickens always go up into his tree. We've never seen this anywhere in the world. His tree is always full of chickens, but chickens don't usually fly, so I don't know how that happens. But chickens are animals, right? I love chickens means I love the animals. They're cute and they're stupid and lots of fun to play with, right? I love chicken. 是什么意思? Right? 好吃哦. Okay? That's what happens. We force it to take a meaning because it has to have a meaning. And we can't just go with the meaning first and then re-evaluate the words. We can't do that in English. We have to start here. So this means I love eating Taiwan dog. All right? So, you see where the problems come from, yeah? Okay. Now, the other side to this is verbs. So what's the big difference between the two kinds of verbs? Does anybody know? Nouns, you always have to pay attention to this. It doesn't help you to know the meaning of the noun if you don't know this, because often the two meanings are different, right? So when you look up a noun, you have to check this. When you're reading a text, you need to pay attention to this. When you're writing, you need to pay attention to this, right? So what about the verbs? Verbs 有什么问题? Can we give an example? Okay, we have tenses. Tenses are not really the big problem though. They're a lot easier than people think. I can show you afterwards if you guys would like. The big problem with a verb is this. Okay? Now, with some of these, it's just a matter of grammar mistakes on a test. Do you listen music? First of all, I listen music. Is that right? Two, right. You cannot say I listen music because it's wrong, right? Have you ever asked your teacher why? Why is this wrong? Anybody ask? You should ask. Most of your teachers will say just because. But that's bad teaching. It doesn't help you. I listen to music because this verb cannot take an object. Okay? Now we have a name for these. This is called transitive. And in your dictionary, it'll be shown with a T. We have verb T like this. Okay? Or sometimes they'll put in a little R beside it. That's why you need to read this part of your dictionary, so you know what your dictionary will do. Okay? But there's that one, and then there's this one, intransitive. And that means it cannot take an object. Okay? Now, I can give you a couple examples to show you how different these are. If I say, I drop the pen. I drop the pen. What goes to the floor? The pen. Okay. I drop